Well, I don't like it, number one. I think that the thing that's inescapable is the fact that Antonio Brown, regardless of what he and Big Ben Roethlisberger are saying, whether it's on Roethlisberger's radio show, his weekly radio appearance, rather, on Antonio Brown to the press or whatever, they ain't getting along. They're not on the same page. And we can sugarcoat it any way we want to. Now, I know people within the Steelers organization, and I'm here to tell you right now, they don't have the greatest relationship. And Antonio Brown ain't that fond of Big Ben Roethlisberger. People have alluded to Big Ben passing the buck, pointing out a couple of things about people not taking enough culpability from time to time. Obviously, you look at Antonio Brown, and people are going to bring up the selfishness because they're going to bring up the fact that Juju Smith-Schuster is considered the number one, that he should be targeted more. But I'm going to look at it from this perspective. Antonio Brown, the player, over the last 6 years has had a minimum of 101 receptions, a minimum of 1,284 yards, has universally been recognized as one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in all of football for 6 consecutive years, and has only missed, 3 games up until this last weekend. So on that level, I'm going to put Antonio Brown on the same level as Big Ben in terms of, okay, let's hear what you got to say and go from there. Here's where I jump off the shit with Antonio Brown and all of them. How could you do this to Mike Tomlin? How could you do this to him?
What?
When you, and let me say it, I'm going to say it plain right here on Get Up For You, Greeny. When you are a black athlete and you know that you have a coach of African-American descent, the kind of things that we talk about away from y'all and others is the plight, the challenge of finding somebody to be in that position. And when you get in that position, even though you go all out, there's an extra incentive to really go out there and give it your all. Well, in the case of Mike Tomlin, how much incentive do you need? The man hasn't had a losing record in 12 years. He's a Super Bowl champion, been to 2 Super Bowl appearances. To allow the level of dysfunction to reek through this franchise the way a lot of these guys did, from Le'Veon Bell to the offensive linemen calling them out and acting the way that they were acting, to Antonio Brown and the mood swings, et cetera, et cetera. How is it that you don't see the kind of negative effect this would have on Mike Tomlin? That's my problem with the Steelers more so than anything else.
I don't like your energy with the Steelers because that's your team.
Yeah.
If this was a receiver with the Cowboys, you'd be losing your mind right now. Well, let's be honest.
I would be laughing. That would be the difference. But you're right.
You are exactly right in all of your points. But here's my thing, Stephen A., and just like you mentioned, this is supposed to be in-house. Yeah. That's been my biggest issue with everything that has transpired with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's supposed to be in-house. I was there the years when T.O., Tony Romo, Jason Witten, and Jason Garrett, that whole relationship started to surface in the media. And I had a conversation with T.O., and I said, this ain't the look you want. This is not the look you want. We all know, all the players in the locker room know that this is a group of guys that are real close and possibly getting together outside of what we're doing at the facility and determining how they're going to go about the future. With that being said, I got a lot of respect for AB and his game. He doing it wrong, Steve. Like, you cannot, you and your good conscience and what you talk about with sports cannot possibly think AB is going about this the right way.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right.
He has his reasoning. He has his reasoning, but this is the worst way to do it because of where he is in his career right now.
Well, first of all, I don't recall saying that I agree with AB in terms of how he's handling it. Because
you was just a little...
No. What I'm saying is there's a difference. See, to me, the AB Mike Tomlin dynamic. To me, that's what I was highlighting. When you talk about AB and Big Ben Roethlisberger, let's call it what it is. You had a Big Ben Roethlisberger that at times in the past was wondering whether or not he wanted to play or wanted to retire. You got a Big Ben Roethlisberger that, I mean, listen, we saw a couple of games, and you know this, where you had cats wide open. Ben Roethlisberger didn't even see him. He didn't even look on that side of the field. You're talking about a future Hall of Famer, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and you're looking at him and saying, how are these mistakes happening? How are the red zone interceptions happening? How is it that you, the professional that you are, recognized universally as one of the great quarterbacks in the game? How do you come out there and you start calling other cats out without looking at yourself enough?
How much onus do you put on Tomlin, though, for not shutting this down?
I'm going to put it on him as well. No question about it. I'm not absolving him by any stretch. This was a bad season for Mike Tomlin. Make no mistake about it. But I'm also going to look at it from the fact that you've been there for 12 years. You never had a losing season. My God, you might have thought, listen, let me roll with what I've been doing because what I've been doing for the most part has been working.
How much blame do you put on Tomlin for all of this, for them becoming the Kardashians, if we will?
I put 98% of the blame on him because this is nothing new we're seeing from Antonio Brown. All right, Ben Roethlisberger been calling out players, contemplating if he was going to retire.
Right.
Mike Tomlin there was not one interview that Mike Tomlin came on television and said, I don't want my current players talking about Le'Veon Bell's situation. It's not one time. I don't know if the meeting was had within the facilities, Stephen A., but within the confines of a locker room, the most minute things can fracture those relationships.
Absolutely.
And the fact that Mike Tomlin didn't come out and say, look, if you don't mind, don't ask my players about Le'Veon Bell. And also, a team meeting should have been called and saying, anytime you get a Le'Veon Bell question, we have no comment about it. He let this thing spiral out of control. Now, we would blame any other coach for the turmoil, and I get it. Right. I'm with you on black coaches in the NFL. Their job is harder because of who they are. But with that being said, you got to do it.
Yeah, but see, here's where it gets tricky. When we say he didn't do it, there's plenty of coaches that haven't done what Mike Tomlin has done, and they ain't under the same heat. You see, what I'm trying to say is this. Marcus ain't saying a damn thing that's wrong. You're absolutely right. You want to give him a 98%? Hell with it. I'll go with it. I'll up you 100%. Put it all on Mike Tomlin, because damn it, you the coach, you the boss, shut it down. Yeah. The flip side to it, however, is that that's not an excuse for those out there to call for this man's job when you got a whole bunch of people who have done worse, not just this year, but over the course of his 12 years as an NFL coach. He ain't decided he can't get granted a mulligan. You can't look at Mike Tomlin and say, yo, you got to do a better job. If I was the Rooneys, I'd call him in the office. Look, this year was bad. Now, it's you, so we going to understand it and we going to move on from it. Don't let it happen again. Let's correct some of the errors that we had.
I hate that we agree so much, but you stupid if you call for Mike Tomlin's job.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Stupid. Absolutely.
If there's one thing the Steelers have never done, it is hastily fire a coach. They've had 3 coaches since the 60s.